Okay, good morning everyone, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're looking at me from, wherever you're watching this video from. My name is Abiodun and I'll be your tutor on full stack developer. Okay, so this is general introduction for full stack developer. I'm going to be putting you through some basic things that we need to learn as a full stack developer at the end of the day. Okay, so a full stack web developer. Full stack development, it refers to the development of both front end and back end portions of web application. So full stack developer is just talking about the full end, both the front and the back. That's the user interface and the server side combined together. So who is a full stack web developer? Full stack web developer have the ability to design complete web applications and websites. They work on the front end, back end, database, and debugging of web applications or websites. That is their general work. And in a nutshell, these are the things with which they work with. So a full stack developer is someone who would learn all of these or most of these applications that you see. And generally, they have this understanding of what Python is used for, what HTML, JavaScript, PHP, Oracle, Ruby, SQL, Angular, MySQL, Node.js, React.js, MongoDB, and a lot of those applications that come together for a full stack developer to learn. So it depends on choice also. You can decide to learn some framework, and depending on what your choice is about. But before we go on, let's talk about front end and back end. Difference between a front end and a back end developer. Remember, I said a full stack developer is someone who is into both of them, a front end developer and also a back end developer. Okay, so front end developers are responsible for effectively implementing visual components on a website. That is the user interface. That is what a front end developer, that's what his job is to do, to create a friendly user interface. And the back-end developer work on the server-side development, that it focuses on the database, the scripting, and the website architecture generally. Also, the languages that a front web developer should be familiar with are HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. These are the three major languages that a front-end developer should be familiar with. And they are actually different from the framework. So we're going to be talking more about framework as we move on. But for a back-end programming languages like PHP, Java, .NET, and knowledge of database, server API, and so on, a back-end programmer should be able to learn all of these languages or should be familiar with these languages. Also, the front-end developers design the website look by taking users' input and modifying it through testing. And the back-end developer develops an application that supports the front end. They should also provide support, security, and content management. That's what a back end. A back end is just like a storehouse that supports what the front end has actually done. Also, the front end developer should make sure that the website is accessible to all users. It remains responsive in all views. That's the mobile view, the desktop view, and the tablet view. Is a front end developer that would make it make it responsive. So the back-end developer team may need to create an application around the front end and support it. Moreover, they need to make sure the website opens up and functions properly. That's what the back-end would do. Also, the front-end developer should understand how to effectively work on the design and UI UX of a website or an application. That's user interface or user experience. That's what they call UI UX. And the back-end developer should be able to implement algorithms and solving system-related issues. That's what a back-end should be able to do. Because when a user is interacting with the front end, they relate with the back-end also. Because whatever thing the front end requires, that's a user requires from the front end, it goes to the back end that is like a storehouse to fetch the data back to the front end. So that is how it works. Then the most popular tools are the jQueries and HTML5 for a front-end developer. But for a back-end developer, the most popular tools used are the MySQL and PHP. So these are tools that we would also be checkmating as we move on. So let's go to the next page now. Technology related to full stack development. As a front end, the front end languages, mind you, okay, when we get to HTML proper, I will tell you some basic things about HTML. HTML stands for the Hypertext Markup Language. It is used to design the front end portion of web pages using markup language. So it means it is not a programming language, it's just a markup language. So it gives the web page a structure. That is what the HTML does. It gives the web page a structure. And for the CSS is known as cascading style sheet. often referred to as CSS. The process of making the web page, giving it, making it presentable. That is what it does. Is the CSS that enables you to be able to view the properly what the HTML has actually created. So HTML gives a skeletal view, but the CSS adds flesh to it. That's what it means. And also the JavaScript is a famous scripting language used to create the magic on the site to make the site interactive for the user. So it's the JavaScript that makes a site interactive. It is used to enhance the functionality of a website to running cool games and web-based software. So it depends. So and also now we have some frameworks and library that a front end could actually make use of, which is React.js. We have Bootstrap, we have jQuery, and we have some other framework, Backbone.js, AngularJS, Express.js, Ember.js, and so on and so forth, that the front end could actually make use of. But for this course, when we get to this spot, we're going to cross it because I will be talking about Bootstrap. I'll be teaching the Bootstrap framework alongside our full stack development. So, and for a backend, it refers to the server-side development of web application or website with a primary focus on how the website works. It is responsible for managing the database through queries and APIs by client-side command. This type of website mainly consists of three parts: front end, back end, and the database. That is the job of a back-end developer completely. So there are some languages or some frameworks that should be a back-end developer should be familiar with. For example, we have the PHP. It's a server-side scripting language designed specifically for web development. Also, we have the C++. It is a general-purpose programming language and widely used nowadays for competitive programming. It is also used as back-end. So C++ can serve as a front-end and also as a back-end. And also we have Java, we have Python, we have JavaScript, we have Node.js. Node.js is an open source and cross-platform runtime environment for executing JavaScript code outside of a browser. That's what Node.js does. You need to remember that Node.js is not a framework, it's not a programming language. You need to remember that Node.js is not a framework and it's not a programming language. Now, back-end framework. The list of back-end framework are Express.js, Django, Rails, Laravel, Spring, and so on and so forth. The other backend program are C, Ruby, REST, Go, and so on. So let's go to the next page now. We're just trying to make an introduction of HTML very soon, but I need to give you the basic of a full stack developer. The basic. Okay, the database. Now, database is the collection of interrelated data which helps in efficient retrieval, insertion, and deleting of data from database and organizes the data in the form of tables, views, schemas, reports, and so on and so forth. Oracle database is the collection of data which is treated as a unit. MongoDB, the most popular NoSQL database, is an open source document orientation database. The term NoSQL means non-relational. It means that MongoDB is not based on the table-like relation database structure, but provides an altogether different mechanism for storage and retrieval of data. And also we have the SQL. SQL is known as a structured query language. It's a standard database language which is used to create, maintain, and retrieve the relational database. Okay, so this is what we will talk about for today for the introduction and the basics. So in our next class, we will be talking about the HTML proper. We're going to be talking about the HTML proper. We're going to be introducing ourselves to the HTML proper and also the application that we would use to run our program. All right, thank you and do have a nice day. See you in the next class.